Why would that be? Why would that be that we would have this power if we have it? And why would it be that we would be, she says, we're half the world. We could take over if we wanted. Why would it be that we don't or aren't? And this has been my question for about 30 years now. It's a deep question. It's not a light, fair question when you look at it. How could that be? And, I choose to not believe that we're just merely inferior. And yet you look out in the world and there's subjugation, there's oppression, there's abominable women's healthcare, there's the fact that women are expected to do and be everything, have kids, work, or exhausted, or nervous systems are fried. How can you see that and still believe in our power? So that one of my favorite, I tend to collect stories. That's the only way I think we can do it. I studied semantics, and when I did, you'll hear me say this one often, there are certain things that I repeat, but a pivotal moment for me was with a Japanese student. We were studying language itself, and we were talking about masculine language and feminine language. And the feminine language, she said, is like Japanese, is like pointing 100 little spotlights on a topic, whereas masculine language is like a giant spotlight on a topic. And I think that was a moment when I first began to see what the challenge might be that we're facing, that it's much more nuanced, that it's not as out there, it's not as in your face, and that it's more a suggestion. So one of my favorite proverbs is an African proverb, and it's until the lion tells his story, and I would say her story, or his, but in this case it's hers. The tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. And when I first heard this, I thought, until we women come together and know our stories and tell our stories, then it'll always look askew. It'll always look backward. So what do we do? What do we begin to do? And how do we begin to collect our stories? So how do you describe women's power? Unique power. It isn't a metric of something outside of ourselves. It isn't a shadow of another kind of power, an equal and complementary power. And I was listening to my Phenomena Lama this weekend, and he was talking about something else. He wasn't talking about women's power, but it gave me a good model for how to speak about it, because he was talking about music. And he said, music is comprised of two separate things. One is the instrumentation, the sound, the violin, the piano, the drums, the cymbal, but it's equal and matched to silence. Music actually issues from the silence. Not only does it issue from it, but it punctuates. I mean, yeah, not only does it issue from it, but silence punctuates the music. Not only this, but it's where we go in the music to come back and find the meaning of the music. The music itself, just the instruments, is cacophony. It's just clanging and banging if it isn't punctuated by silence. That, to my mind, is one of the best ways that I see women's power. That there is a way that it issues from us. And that if we aren't in full ownership of it, then the cacophony that we see, the unpunctuated, endless sound, looks desperate and hopeless